Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Guten Tag. I'm Min Ha-yoon, and today I'll be presenting about transitioning climate change education for mitigation and adaptation, a case study on the curriculum of Baden-Württemberg and its implications to the Korean education policy. I will first introduce you to the background on climate change and education, and then I'll talk to you about why I have chosen Germany for climate change education. Then we'll take a look into the curriculum of Baden-Württemberg, and then I'll end with giving policy proposals for the curriculum of South Korea. Before I move on, I would like to share with you a short video to loosen up a little, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Our planet is home to up to 30 million different
kinds of animals, but all of this is under threat.
Climate change, the climate crisis. It's so huge, it can be hard to get your head around. With everything going on in the world right now, what can we even do about it? How do we understand what's going on and how can we help? Actually, my friend in Chile might have some good ideas.
Hola. Buenos días, Dante. Nosotros los humanos estamos subiendo la temperatura de nuestro planeta, lo cual está causando problemas para muchos animales. Me gusta compartir mis conocimientos sobre estos animalitos a las otras personas, porque para protegerlos debemos conocerlos.
Learning about how we're impacting our planet is crucial, especially when we're creating all kinds of problems for it. Check this out.
Did you know that all the plastic that was ever created still exists? As soon as I learned that, I knew I had to do something. We depend on this ocean to live and breathe. That's why, together with my sister, we started organizing cleanups, mobilizing the masses, educational workshops, and working with government. Today, our island home of Bali has banned single-use plastic bags.
Impressive, right? Learning what others are doing is great.
Due to time constraints, I'll stop the video here, but for those of you who are interested to learn more, please visit my metaverse space because I've uploaded the video there. And what did you see from the video? What I saw was the potential that youth have in changing our climate. Sorry about that. Many studies have highlighted the positive influence that environmental education has on environmental-friendly attitude and how environmental-friendly attitude can have a positive influence on environmentally friendly behavior. And changing the national curriculum of a country can have huge impacts since everyone under the national curriculum gets influenced. Hence, the impact is enormous. The SDGs and the Paris Agreement has also outlined the importance of climate change education. In Target 13.3 of the SDGs, it says that education should be improved on climate change, and its indicator is the number of countries that have integrated related contents into its curriculum. The Paris Agreement has also outlined its importance in Articles 11 and 12. Climate change education has been discussed under the larger concept of Education for Sustainable Development, or ESD for short. ESD was first mentioned in Agenda 21 of 1992, and then in 2005, the UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development was adopted by UNESCO. This lasted for 2005 till 2014, and after that, the subsequent Global Action Program, also by the UNESCO, was implemented from 2015 to 2019. And then after that, the ESD for 2030 was declared, also by the UNESCO, and it had set 5 priority action areas to be achieved until 2030. I want to show you that the discussions on ESD has been continued for quite a long time, and I want to emphasize once more its importance. In my presentation, I want to show you the ESD of Germany and then give policy proposals for Korea's educational curriculum. Korea has recently passed a law to make climate change education compulsory. And climate change education is expected to change in South Korea, which is why I believe that the proposals could be meaningful. The reason I decided to focus on Germany is because Germany has historically worked on enhancing and adopting ESD quite actively. During the UN Decade I mentioned just earlier, Germany implemented the National Plan of Action, and then after that, Germany also proposed the German National Action Plan on ESD, or NAP for short. This one has 130 objectives and 349 measures to be achieved regarding ESD. The federal states of Germany have different independent educational curriculum, and I decided to focus on the federal state of Baden-Württemberg because in 2017, it was assessed to have achieved goals related to sustainable development within the educational curriculum most effectively. Moreover, it is one of the first 3 countries to have first presented ESD state strategies. So I decided to look at the educational curriculum published by the Ministry of Baden-Württemberg in 2016, and I looked at it in its original language for primary and secondary education. For primary education, it's Grundschule in German and elementary school for Korea, and I looked at the subject of general studies. And for secondary education, it's Gymnasium in German and middle and high school for Korea. I looked at 6 subjects, which are biology, chemistry, geology, ethics, social studies, and economics. For the primary education, I looked at the subject of general studies, and the notion of sustainability appeared quite often, although climate change in itself was not dealt with independently. Below are some examples of how sustainability was dealt with within the curriculum, and to read out some of them, the students were taught the importance of biodiversity and how choices in everyday life could affect the biodiversity. They were also taught to understand the difference between finite and infinite energy sources. For the secondary education, I looked at science-related subjects, which had a lot of content regarding climate change. For the biology subject, climate change was dealt with in understanding the carbon cycle. And in chemistry, climate change was dealt with most abundantly. And the students were taught to understand the composition of the atmosphere and its human influence. There was also an exercise on making students evaluate the usage of oil. In geography, climate change was dealt with in understanding the effect of climate change to the Earth as a whole and how it's making changes to our oceans and seas. Climate change was dealt with in humanities and social sciences related subjects as well. In ethics, students were taught to understand the diverse values included in climate change discussions. And for social studies, there was an exercise on understanding how climate change threatens global security. Last but not least, in economics, students were taught to learn the different interests involved in different global treaties, such as the Paris Agreement. From these subjects, I identified 3 strengths of the Baden-Württemberg curriculum. And the first was its comprehensive and interdisciplinary approach in approaching climate change. The second was its vast scopes of application. And the third was that it promoted understanding through examples. Based on these strengths, I came up with 4 proposals for South Korea. The first was to increase the number of chapters in which climate change is dealt with within a subject. In other words, this means to include climate change in broader contexts. The second proposal is to include and elaborate on climate change-related perspectives in subjects other than geography and ethics, which is how the Korean curriculum is currently approaching climate change. The third proposal is to give examples that are actual problems that the society is facing so that the students could be given opportunities to contemplate on the actual real-life problems. The fourth proposal is to let students choose which example they wish to work on rather than presenting them with one concrete example that already has answers. So I want to conclude my presentation by emphasizing once more the importance of education, because I believe that our Earth could be changed by enhanced climate change education. With this, I believe that we can make leaders who can address climate change rightfully. Thank you.